What is up, YouTube? It's Ubu the Tech Guru coming straight at ya. How is everybody doing? I'm doing fan-tiddly-astic. And today, for this episode of Tech Tuesdays with Ubu, I'm going to just be doing some benchmarking and showing you guys the results of benchmarking two video cards. Now, currently, the video card that's in the machine is a XFX R7770 Black Edition. Basically an HD7770, which comes overclocked for you already. Both the cards have 1 gigabit of DDR5 RAM, or memory. The HD5750, and that one is by XFX, that one has a core clock of 700 megahertz, and the R7770 Black Edition is overclocked from XFX, and that has a 1095 core clock. The way that I'm going to be testing the video cards is using Farinix Test Suite. It's a really cool test suite, and it works in Open Solaris, Apple's, Mac OS X, Windows, BSD, and Linux. It works in a ton of different systems. It's great. It can be automated. And it can put your whole computer, not just graphic card testing, but it has tons and tons and tons of testing, from CPU testing to memory testing to, write speed, I/O, input, output, write and read, speed tests, and all sorts of tests. But today we're just going to be utilizing some of the graphics benchmarking. And one of the, the main tests that I'll be showing is from Unigine, which is pretty much the go-to benchmarking software for testing graphics cards. And their latest test, I believe it's their latest one, is called Valley. I think Heaven was before that, and Sanctuary was before that. Someone correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. So we're going to be testing Unigine Valley. We'll be doing that benchmark. The Farinix Test Suite, has all of these tests built right into it, and I just run it from a terminal, and it runs the particular test that I tell it to. So, we're basically going to be running Valley against both cards. I'm running the latest AMD Catalyst beta driver from their website. The native resolution of my monitor is 1680 by 1050. That's the highest it'll go. It's running at 60 Hertz for its refresh rate. The machine that's being used to run the tests has an AMD A8 3870K APU running at 3 gigahertz, so it's a quad core. It's got a ASRock A75 Extreme 6 motherboard. It has 8 gigabits of DDR3 RAM clocked at 1866. Has a 160 gig Hitachi hard drive, serial ATA. It also has a 32 gig OCZ cache drive, but that's not being utilized. The Realtek audio chipset is ALC892. The monitor I have is a SyncMaster 225BW. I'm running Ubuntu 12.04.3 with kernel 3.7.0 blah 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 blah. I'm running the XFCE 4.10 desktop, Xserver version, I believe it says 1.13.3, and then I've already told you what the AMD driver is. That's FGLRX 12.10.5. And then there's some other information. The file system is ext4 and whatnot. Alright, so what I thought I would do is, I didn't want to tax the hardware of the computer, the CPU and the memory and all that by using an on-screen recorder or to record my desktop. So I'm recording it from an external device, my iPhone 5S, sitting on a tripod, and so that'll just show the test running through. It's cranking through, and I'll just run it through fast motion here, and we'll get to the results at the end. Alright, so I sped that up as fast as I could. Well, at least it was by 500%. And then after it's done, it goes back to the terminal and shows you your results. And then it's really neat because you can open up an HTML file that was created to take a look at your results of the test. So I think that's really cool by Farinix Test Suite to do that. So looking at the little graph that was created by the software, you can see that the HD5750 was coming in right below 17 frames a second at 16.49. That's running the Valley benchmark at 1680 by 1050. And then below it you can see that the XFX HD7770 Black Edition came in at just over 23 frames a second at 23.01. So there you go. By switching graphics cards, I gained approximately 7.5 or 6.5 frames a second. Now that's not that much. I thought that I would have gained some more, but hey, I'm not complaining. 6.5 frames a second, you know, can mean the difference between 30 frames a second in a game and only 23 frames a second in a game. So next I did some testing, some other benchmarks against the HD7770, and let's take a look at some of those results. And I want you to notice something right away. That top left corner, it says Unigine Valley version 1. Now this is against the HD7770. Notice how it says 18 frames a second. So I actually, with all those little, that text, you know, earlier in the video talking about the driver version, you know, was a certain version, but the pictorial or the AMD Catalyst Control Center showed a different version. Well, that's because my current computer has the latest beta driver from AMD. The tests were ran with the previous version of the driver. So, you know, the AMD Catalyst Control Center was showing the latest beta version 13.11 version 9.4 of the beta AMD driver, and that's what all these tests are ran against. And the reason that I upgraded the driver to the latest one was because the new card, I couldn't play Serious Sam 3. It was locking up my entire computer when I launched the game. So I figured I would go try out the newest beta drivers and see if that fixed the issue with the game, and sure enough, it did. So basically, there's been some regression. Regression happens sometimes with new drivers and software, and basically what that means is you actually lose performance by using newer drivers. So as you can see, you know, the other driver that I was running, 13.04 with the HD7770, I was getting around 21 frames a second. Now I'm only getting 18 something. So with the latest AMD beta drivers, there was actually regression. So unfortunately, that's just the way it is. But if I want to be able to play Serious Sam 3, which I do, I have to run the latest beta driver from AMD. So I'll have to deal with a little bit of regression, you know, in the frames per second I was getting from the Valley benchmark. And then you can see I ran the Sanctuary Unigine, and I was pulling around, what does that say, 37? I can't really see. And then also the Heaven benchmark, I was pulling 15.33, and then I ran it against some popular Linux, some native Linux games like Team Fortress 2. Now I'm not sure what the graphic options were set at as far as, you know, anti-aliasing and shading and all that other stuff. I don't know whether it was on ultra or medium, what type of presets there was for each of the video games. But you can see I was pulling 54 frames a second in Team Fortress 2, 54 in Urban Terror, Exonetic, I was pulling 57. Exonetic is, I think it's a fork of Nexius. That was an original Linux game. They actually ended up making that for the Xbox 360 as well. It kind of made it on the scene when Machinima started, you know, having it on their live stream, but it died pretty quickly. It's a really fast-paced first-person shooter. It's pretty cool. Actually, you can notice that the Exonetic game that did run. I was able to set which kind of quality for the video game, and that was set at Ultra, and that was pulling 57.41 frames per second. And that pretty much wraps up the video. I just wanted to show the comparison between the HD5750 and the HD7770. I didn't point this out earlier, but I actually got the HD7770 from a viewer of mine. His name is Free Fall Shooter. He's actually, well, he's a Twitter follower of mine. He's a follower of me on my Twitch channel, and he was watching me live stream one day, and he said he was having issues with his HD7770 in Windows. He was getting DirectX errors, and he knew that I use Linux, so he said, well, if you want the card and you can get it to work, you're more than happy to have it. So he actually shipped it to me for free, which is awesome, because I'm sure it cost, you know, 15-20 bucks to ship the card. And he gave me the card for free as well. So huge shout out to Free Fall Shooter for giving me this this black edition of the HD7770. And leave me a rating. Let me know what you guys thought of the video. Hit that subscribe button for more technology type stuff on Tuesdays on my channel. And then otherwise, I'll have gaming stuff on you know, the other days, whether it's Battlefield 4 on Xbox 360, or some, you know, Serious Sam 3, or some other native Linux games. That's about all I got for today, guys. Until next time, I'll smell you when I smell you. Ubu out.